For a game about orky cars blowing each other up and going mad fast, Speed Freaks has some surprisingly deep and complex mechanics surrounding its two major game modes, Deff Rally and Kill Konvoy. So today, we're going to be delving into those mechanics. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy videos about Speed Freaks and other Warhammer 40k video games. And let's get started by talking about Deff Rally. In this mode, teams compete over a static series of control points that progress down a racetrack, and each game culminates in a race to a finish line that can award their team additional points. This is the simplest game mode in Speed Freaks and a great start for new players, with games mostly breaking down to a death match over those control zones. When each control point opens up, it is uncontrolled by either team. The control points are represented by these totems that are dotted around the map, and you can see that while uncontrolled, they start in this balanced position. But as they fall under the control of one player or another, their colored icon will swing up to the top of the totem pole. The first player to enter the zone's control area will automatically claim that zone for their team. This scores the team 30 points automatically and locks in control for them without having to go through the waiting period that the other team will need to in order to wrest control of that zone. This can be done by having the majority of players in range for a short period of time. After a random length of time, that totem will explode and a new control zone will open, prompting a race to the next one. Only one control zone is active at any one time, and this timer can take between 90 and 150 seconds, with the average length of time being somewhere around 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Each zone has unique spawn points for each team, but these will only unlock once that zone is initially claimed. Respawning before the new zone is controlled by either team just causes you to spawn at the previous point, which tends to be pretty far away from the new zone. In addition to scoring by winning the race to new objectives, the most common way to accrue points in this mode is by killing other players. While the objective itself isn't worth points once captured, the team that currently controls it will score 15 points for each kill that they achieve, while the other team will only score 10. This means that simply capturing the objective is not in and of itself worth anything. You also need to be engaging with the enemy team to get value. In addition, this also means that the team without control of the totem has to be extremely careful about attacking into it, since feeding kills will allow the controlling team to generate enormous numbers of points. Fighting over the point can also be a good source of player score, since capturing or defending the zone awards tons of bonus points. This doesn't help the team win by itself, these are for the player score, not the team score, but it will help pad your WA tracker level to unlock new cars and cosmetics. Only kills scored by players count towards the team score, meaning that respawning during the fight or dying to environmental effects like falling off cliffs or running into lava do not provide the other team points. This is potentially abusable since respawning in a dire situation can deny the enemy team, but it is tough to pull off if you're in a tight spot since it requires navigating through the game's menu. Difficult to do before they just blast your hit points away. After the last totem of the game explodes, the final race begins. This starts a timer that ends the game once the time runs out and gives players that limited amount of time to reach an additional finish line. The length of the timer is based on the map and the finish line's distance from the final objective. That's 55 seconds on the lava map and 45 seconds on the snow, desert, and asteroid maps. I don't actually remember the map names since the custom lobby feature with the map browser got removed after the original beta test. Kills can still be scored during this phase for 10 points each, otherwise players will score when or if they hit the finish line. The player ending first scores 100 points, the player ending second scores 60, 40 points for third, and each other finisher will score 15 points for their team. This potentially allows a team to accrue a ton of points and come back from behind if they do end up winning that final race, although that is fairly rare and difficult to do. Now with that, let's move over to Kill Konvoy. Kill Konvoy is a much more complex and objective-based mode. It requires significantly more teamwork and coordination to be successful, and has more underlying unique mechanics than Deff Rally. If Speed Freaks were to, at one point, have a competitive scene, I'd love it to focus on this mode out of the two. Kill Konvoy introduces 2 new AI-controlled agents to the game. These are each team's Stompa. Stompas are titanic orky war machines that function as both combat walkers and effigies of their weird gods. The team on the left gets a big black and white Goths-themed Stompa, and the team on the right gets a big red Evil Suns one. The goal of the mode is to race the other team's Stompa to a predetermined finish line. Actions including getting kills on the other team and delivering bombs to their Stompa that put your Stompa ahead in the race also score your team points, and the team with the highest number of points when the first Stompa reaches the finish line wins the game. Each of these walkers is equipped with a bunch of weapons, including 2 big shooters, a super gatlo, and a coaxial cannon, as well as a lift-droppa arm. These weapons will auto-target the closest enemy within their line of sight in the arc of the weapon after the weapon swivels into position to target them. The Super Gatla and Cannon have incredible range, so getting anywhere near the Titan and in its line of sight can be very hazardous. However, these weapons can only fire where their arm can pivot to, so their arc is limited to a narrow cone in the front of the Stompa. They're not really able to pivot past the halfway point of the vehicle. The Super Gatla is a rapid-fire weapon with a slight knockback but incredible damage that will quickly shred vehicles that stay in its arc for too long. The Cannon, on the other hand, is lower damage and slower firing, but provides enormous knockback in a large AoE. Its projectile velocity is fairly slow and easy to recognize, however, so if you notice it firing at you, you can typically dash out of the way. If you're in range for the Gatla, that's kind of easy to figure out because the Gatla will already be shooting at you. The lift-droppa on the Stompa's other arm is a bizarre weapon. It deals no damage, but will immobilize a vehicle and lift it into the air, making it a sitting duck for other players to gun down. You'll notice a slowing effect in green energy surrounding your vehicle when targeted by the lift-droppa, and the weapon has extremely short range, letting you boost out of that range before it fully lifts you up. It is located on the outside arm of the Stompa, and while it can swivel backwards to lift vehicles behind it, cannot target enemies on its opposite side. Last and probably least, each walker also has a front and rear facing big shooter. These are roughly equivalent to most player weapons and can protect the vehicle from that angle. They aren't huge damage, but they can assist defenders against attackers approaching in one of those forward or rear arcs. Now, all of these weapons are fairly highly placed on the Stompa model, so getting down right next to it puts you out of danger from most of its guns. This makes a side angle approach from the direction of the other Stompa the safest, since it puts you out of arc of both their lift-droppa arm on the opposite side of the Stompa and the cannon and Gatla arms. Front or rear angles can put a player in danger of one or both of those arm-mounted guns in addition to the shots from the big shooters. Interestingly, the Stompa's loadouts are mirrored. Regardless of whether your Stompa is the right or left Stompa, their cannons and Gatlas always face inwards into the map towards the direction of the other Stompa, while their lift-droppa arm is on the opposite side. As they stomp forward, they also have a big collider that can kick player cars out of the way. However, these don't inflict damage, even to enemy players. Kills from the Stompa still count for scoring, even though they're not attributed to a player. The Stompa even gets its name in the little score register in the corner when it blows somebody up. Like Deff Rally, however, environmental deaths and respawns do not grant the other team points. These points are scored as players secure kills or deliver bombs to the enemy walker. This also assists in their Stompa moving down the track. Kills will inspire your Stompa crew and give it a minor boost of speed, while delivering bombs to the enemy Stompa will damage and slow it down slightly. Both of these actions score your team points. I should mention as well that these Stompas are invulnerable to player damage. They can only be slowed down and sped up by these mission actions. Shooting at them doesn't actually do anything. The game ends when the first Stompa reaches the finish line, at which point the team with the highest points scored will win. Interestingly, this makes it conceivable that if a team scores a huge glut of points just as the first place Stompa crosses the finish line, they could win the game, even though their walker is physically farther behind. But that is largely hypothetical and very unlikely to occur in an actual game. Bombs spawn at random around the map, respawning immediately once they're detonated. The spawn points for bombs are predetermined. You can actually see them as small piles of debris dotted around the map, and usually spawn with small inert bombs on top of them to mark them out especially. The spawn point that the bombs actually use is random, but they will typically appear somewhere within a radius of the two stompas. This can be in front of the vehicles or behind them, and requires the team to be fairly mobile to pick them up in a timely manner. Players can pick up bombs simply by driving near them. While holding a bomb, their vehicle suffers a slight speed penalty, and you can drop at any time with the Q key, but keep in mind that this may allow enemy players to pick it up. You can also get rid of it by detonating it, and a shock jump dragster using its shock tunnel ability to jump short distances will automatically drop the bomb on use of the ability, even though this does not occur for other vehicles' repositional effects. The bomb detonates immediately when a player holding it contacts the enemy stompa. It will also detonate automatically when outside a certain range of either walker. This prevents players from being able to take bombs far away from the fight, and also means bombs that do not get picked up are eventually despawned if not interacted with, as the stompas move too far away and they blow themselves up. When a bomb detonates, it provides significant impulsive force to everything in a large radius, throwing players around but inflicting no damage. This can allow a bomber to escape the scene of a crime after a delivery. The game starts with a single bomb spawned, but if the teams go a period of time without delivering that bomb, additional bombs will spawn. As far as I know, this is up to a cap of 3 bombs on the field at any one time. The cap could be higher, but I've actually never been in a game long enough for more than 3 bombs to spawn. Like zone defense in Deff Rally, bomb delivery in Kill Konvoy is a huge source of player points, since even attempted deliveries, handoffs, and assists can be worth enormous scores. Just like defending zones, this doesn't impact the team score, but is a good source of WAP path progression for your player account. A subtle piece of design in this mode is the innate comeback mechanics baked into how Kill Konvoy plays. Because the lead stompa is typically winning the game on the score sheet, and the biggest cannons on the losing stompa will often have greater command over the battlefield, since a stompa that's farther ahead will have more of its weapons out of arc for the fight more often. This can spell doom for an attacking team that's not tightly coordinated or incredibly fast, since fighting near the opposing stompa is exceptionally dangerous. If a group of players successfully delivers a bomb, those points can quickly be recouped by the other team in the form of kills. This makes Kill Konvoy an incredibly interesting mode to play with, and especially if you are playing with a coordinated team, potentially grouped and on comms, it can be very fulfilling. But let me know down in the comment section which of these 2 modes is your favorite. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video, and stay tuned for additional Speed Freaks content and content about other Warhammer 40k video games. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy gaming.